Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the New Physicians and New Parents webinar with the Illinois Academy of Family Physicians. I'm Ginny Flynn, Vice President of Communications, who will be the pay no attention to the lady behind the curtain, but it is my honor to turn it over to our new physician board member who helped organize tonight's event and is going to serve as our moderator. So please welcome Dr. Rebecca Madrell, and I'll turn it over to her. And it's good to have you everyone here. We will be recording this, so if your kids take you away or somebody missed it, we will be sure to have that recording available probably tomorrow.
Well, thank you so much, Jenny. And even though you're behind the curtain, thanks for all your work in getting this set up. It is amazing all that you do for the Academy, so we appreciate it. But now my moment to be the moderator for tonight is, there's not just dad jokes. So yes, I'm Rebecca Madrell. I'm the new physician board member. So I guess I qualify for this job because I am also a mom of a 2-year-old, Blake. So he was born during my chief year. I went to residency at West Suburban, and then they have a 4th year chief year. And so that was when Blake was born, right before the pandemic started in January of 2020. So I'm sure we'll get into some of those joys of parenting when it comes to childcare and things like that. But again, thank you so much to Jenny for putting this together and our lovely panel. So we have an awesome panel for you. So we're going to start we have 3 poll questions to kind of get to know the Zoom room. So then Jenny's going to pop those up. So if you just want to let us know so we have an idea of who's here, and we can kind of focus some of the questions to that. Awesome. So good. So we got a whole mix here tonight. All right. Great. We'll have get some good advice for some new or soon to be or one day parents. Awesome. Well, congratulations to people with babies on the way or new parents in the room. Hopefully we'll be able to kind of all learn and grow together, because that's how I feel like this whole parenting thing works, just like medicine. We're lifelong learners. So kind of what we'll be talking about today. So we're going to talk with some of our current board members who are also parents and new parents and experienced parents, and kind of hear some of the lessons they learned. Some people too did put together some resources that they recommend. We love good resources in medicine, so we'll be able to share some of those resources with everyone. And at the end, some of the parents put together some tips and hacks for you as well as your significant other. And then also just kind of open some questions to the floor and see if there's anything else, questions. I have a million questions if no one else does on how to figure this out, but hopefully we'll get some good questions going. And then at the end, we'll kind of tell you about some upcoming IFP events as well as some opportunities for new physician members. All right, and then again, like Jenny mentioned, as this was starting, this video will be recorded. So for any of those of you who want to go back or share parts with your partner later of things that we talked about, we'll be able to do that. Or if you get called away because you're a parent. Okay, sorry. So we're going to start with our panel now. So Dr. Akhtar, will let you kind of lead the way and kind of tell us about yourself and maybe any top recommendations that you have.
Hi, my name is Narain Akhtar. I am a family medicine physician working out of the Swedish North Shore group. I work in an ambulatory site there. I think this is a great panel. I wish that we did something like this when we had residents, because I know a lot of my co-residents at that time had babies. So I think this is a great panel discussion that we did today and a fun topic. I have a 4-month-old. Her name is Sahar. So I had Sahar in October of last year. So she also is a pandemic baby. My spouse is a surgeon, got stuck at work tonight. And so my baby's with me. And like I said, before to the panel, you just kind of have to roll with it. So that's what we're doing tonight. And you may hear her in the background. A couple of resources that I had recommended that I thought were great was early on, there's a lot of great apps, some that you can actually share with your partner or your nanny, but I used a very easy one to track like pumping and feeding early on. And that was through the What to Expect When You're Expecting app. Other resources that I had wanted to recommend that I thought were great was, and one of my pieces of advice that I'll talk about a little bit more later, is to really use your support system, whatever that may be, and to get help wherever and whenever you can, if you're going to be working full or part-time after having your kid and your spouse is also working full-time. And some of those resources include care.com and sittercity.com to look for nannies and babysitters, even for when you need like a date night for you and your spouse, and also reaching out to your network. So when I couldn't find a nanny, I had a nanny bail on me the day I was supposed to go back to work. So I extended my stay for a week more, and I started reaching out to everybody in my phone book essentially. And I found somebody that way to help me take care of my child when I'm at work. Diapers.com I heard is great as well for kind of comparing pricing and to get the resource that you need there. And I'm a checklist maker. I like to be organized and write down checklists. So the To-Do app is a really easy app. I liked it because I could share my lists with my spouse. For example, for groceries, especially early on, I just send him the list of things to buy, or I can make lists for both work and home related duties. And then I'm a reluctant social media user. I don't use it that often, but I did find that mom groups and physician mom groups in your local area are very, very helpful for support, for a safe kind of venting space if you have one of those days, as well as a great resource for just answering a lot of questions for first-time moms. Thank you.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Akhtar. All right, we're going to move on to Dr. Carpenter.
Hey guys, so I'm Josh. I'm a hospitalist downstate in Galesburg, small, about 80-bed hospital. My son is 3, and he was born at 30 weeks, which required 4 weeks in the NICU, which was about 50 miles away from work. He actually came, Allison had to get wheeled back for a C-section as I was at work, so it was a little bit dicey there. She was over in Peoria and I was in Galesburg. I'm also a flight surgeon, and Allison is active duty in the Air National Guard over in Peoria, and so sometimes we've got to navigate different travel circumstances to kind of get the job done, so that can be tricky at times. For us, we found Moms on Call was the best resource for trying to come up with a schedule where we could make sure that Knox was going to sleep and kind of figure out how to get him to sleep, which I think was more for our sanity than for his, because then we had time that we could plan to do whatever it was that we needed to do. Another interesting thing, we actually became Sam's members when he became about 9 months or a year. And what was happening is we had transitioned from breast milk, which was pumped, and we ran out, but we still needed something. And he just was not taking most of what we could find. And the knockoff brand we were way more successful with. So we ended up saving a lot of money using their stuff, and he liked it more, which was phenomenal. And the other big thing that we loved were the Up-A-Baby stroller and car seats. Just made getting around as we're traveling between the different towns a lot easier. If you've ever struggled with a stroller, you'll know it's some of those take an engineering degree. So the Up-A-Baby ones are real simple.
Thank you so much, Dr. Carpenter. I wrote down that Moms on Call, even though Blake's too. We could still use that. All right, thank you. All right, so now Dr. Sullivan, our newest parent, maybe. Why don't you take us away? And congratulations. I don't think I've talked to you since.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I'm Eric. I'm a current third-year resident at the Northwestern Family Medicine residency in Humboldt Park in Chicago. So yeah, my daughter Teresa was born 4 weeks ago tomorrow. So still quite a little squirt. So my wife and I are still both on leave. I have 4 more weeks of leave. She has like another 18 weeks of leave, which I'm very jealous about. And things that we found helpful. I was just quickly looking at the Moms on Call as well. It looks very similar from what I can tell to taking care of babies, which people may or may not be familiar with. My wife heard about it from one of her friends that had a baby. But basically like a little course of videos. Also there's like blogs and other things that you do, but one of our friends like bought us the like newborn sleep course, which was super helpful. We've been using that and she's already sleeping pretty well for us, all things considered. So that was really nice. And then my wife was much better than I was about reading a bunch of books before Teresa came. But I was able to read some of them. Emily Oster, who people may or may not be familiar with, she's kind of gotten some notoriety during the pandemic as well for pandemic related things. But she initially like got big because she started writing these books on like data driven approaches to like pregnancy and the newborn period. And then now she just recently came out with a book for like the toddler age. And we found the ones for newborns and the pregnancy period to be super helpful. And then my wife really liked the Bringing Up Baby book, which I haven't read yet, so I can't attest to personally, but I think is about an American who is in France, just like kind of comparing the parenting styles from the US and France. It was really enlightening about just how kind of over parented we are here in the US, and I think gave us maybe feel a little more reassured that we don't have to be maybe as neurotic as we might have otherwise been.
All right. Well, thanks, Dr. Sullivan. I'm impressed that you're awake and coherent right now. So congratulations. Okay. All right, Dr. Alvey, do you want to take it away?
Great. Hey, everyone. And congrats, Eric. I haven't seen you since then as well. So super excited for you. So yeah, I'm Mustafa Alavi. I am a family physician at an FQHC at Erie Family Health Centers and medical director at our clinic. So we had Aiden, who's born 6 months ago today. So today's his 6 months birthday. He also started daycare this week. So it's been kind of a learning experience and a whole different world for us this week in terms of figuring things out. For us, so this for me brought a whole different perspective, honestly, for even how I care for my patients and how my pregnant patients navigate FMLA and leave time and pumping at work and just a whole lot of logistics that I really totally didn't understand the logistics until we started actually doing it. So my wife's FMLA allowed her to take 4 months of leave, or 3 months of paid leave with an extra month of bonding time, which was really nice. And my work's FMLA allowed me to use FMLA intermittently. So for the months of January and February, my wife works 4 days a week. She went down to 3 days a week just for those months, and I work 2 days a week. And so I use FMLA for the other 3 days, but that actually allowed me to spread out my paid FMLA leave so that I could be home with Aiden when she was at work. And we extended the time for Aiden to need daycare until 6 months, which actually has been awesome because the 4 month mark was actually when the pandemic, when Omicron like resurged, and we're just like super excited to avoid daycare until 6 months of age. we did explore nannies, and we kind of went back and forth on the pros and cons. And I think each of you should kind of internally discuss as a family what is right for your family. And we just thought maybe we'll try daycare and see how it goes. And we're flexible to see if maybe we want to go the nanny approach later. A lot of pediatricians in my clinic recommended this book, Healthy Sleep Habits, Happy Child, and Crib Sheets was also recommended to us. Healthy Sleep Habits, it's a huge book, but it's not like, don't be daunted by how big it is. It's actually very easy to read. It goes kind of by chapter of like, if you're a sleep deprived parent, just read chapter 1, 3, or 5 and 5. And it honestly, it just made us feel really comfortable with knowing that, like, yeah, we're not hurting our baby. We're helping teach healthy sleep habits that actually have worked and has helped Aiden seem like he has more energy during the day and more rested. And I think it definitely, I would give it a chance and read through it. And it also goes later in the book about like by age, like if you have a at 4-month-old or 6-month-old, and just different recommendations about what to do. So I found that super helpful. Also, I mean, we really utilize a lot of e-shopping, like grocery deliveries, pickups, especially now that the pandemic, now most stores have some sort of option for that, just to be as efficient as possible, so that like when Amy and I are both home with Aiden, like we really want to utilize that time to just like be home and enjoy time as a family rather than trying to figure out groceries. So definitely utilize that. And then Black Friday and Amazon Prime Day like are great times to pick up much needed baby needs like strollers and car seats. And I read so many stroller reviews during we went on a baby moon, and I mean, utilize those times to get really good deals on strollers and car seats, which you will, like, we have what we were going to use for him from age 2 to like his booster seat already, because it was just a really good deal, and we'll just save it in the basement.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Those are great tips. Again, I'm writing things down. Okay. Thank you so much. All right, Dr. Gaffer, why don't you, he's our past president as well as our delegate to the AAFP.
Good deal. Thanks, everybody. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Thumbs up. Okay, good. I just need to make sure. I still get nervous this far into the pandemic. So I'm Asim Jaffer. I am faculty down at the Family Medicine Residency in Peoria. I also do a lot of palliative care work. I kind of joke that I've got sort of 2 or 3 careers. You know, number 1 obviously is with my family. Number 2 is my actual professional job. And then number 3 is just my work with the academy. And so trying to find a good balance with all of that has always been a little bit of a challenge, or had been a challenge, I guess it could be. So let me start by saying I'm not a new physician or a new parent. You can see here I've got my 2 kids, these 2 goofballs, that's me in the middle. So my son Kamran is 13, and to give you an idea, he was born just a couple of months into my first year as an attending, and then my daughter is 10, Summer. I think for us, the biggest challenge was really living down here in Peoria. Most of my family is up in the Chicago area, so we're about 3 hours away from kind of family and support. And even though we've got a good network of friends here, just not having that easy access of someone where you can go out on a date night or have a, have at least an outing, or at least someone to watch the kids, just so you can get a couple of moments to yourself. But knowing that we've had, certainly there's enough friends. And then of course, looking for babysitters. As far as resources, we've used something called College Nannies, where it's a little bit more expensive. And I'll be honest, for the first several years, I was a little bit nervous kind of using a babysitter or getting a nanny, and I realized, you know what, for the most part, the kids are going to be okay. And if it's somebody you know, or somebody you trust, or someone that's recommended, someone in the community that's recommended them, it's actually a lot, it is great just to take your mind off a little bit. I will say, like I was mentioning before, kind of having a lot of different hats you wear, trying to find that balance where you can spend enough time with family, but then also not neglect work. Yeah, I spent a lot of time, I'll be honest, feeling a little bit guilty and not wanting to use family as an excuse for not doing something at work. And I realized probably, several years into being a parent, that for the most part, you don't have to apologize about being a parent. Everybody understands it, especially in kind of the tribe of family medicine. You know, I mean, everybody is very understanding. I used to always worry about, oh my God, is someone going to hear the kids in the background or something? Ginny, who's in the background here, knows I've told the story before, is those first few years when I was working on the IAFP board, I would take all of my meetings in the walk-in closet because I was terrified. I mean, the only reason I'm in my office right now is because I was working a little bit late, but normally I would always kind of hide because I didn't want anyone to think, oh no, he's like being unprofessional and he's got kids in the background, and that's absolute nonsense. So, I mean, especially in family medicine, we all know it, we all get it. So I wouldn't feel any guilt at all about that. The only real tip I think I would add is, you know, having a shared schedule. So my kids are now, like I said, 13 and 10. So we're talking about 8th grade and 5th grade. And they've got so many after school activities. And luckily I've got a really supportive wife, but having a shared schedule where we all know what's going on. Because at this point, our schedules are almost secondary because the kids have so many other things going. So trying to keep all that straight. So making sure that everybody's on the same page, that is helpful. And other than that, I think I'll kind of sit back and listen. I love some of the advice I've been hearing. I kind of wish I had some of that myself a few years ago. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. I think learning to say no is the hardest thing for me still. So I appreciate hearing that from you. Some respect. Okay, Dr. Ott, the voice of experience. We will turn
I think
to
Jenny
you.
put that on there. It wasn't me that came up with
I know,
that.
it's true. It's true though.
Yeah, so I'm the gray-haired old white dude in the crowd, is how I introduce myself. That's a picture of my family. You can tell my kids have been around a little while. That's my oldest next to me. That's Tim Jr. He's 36 this year. That's one of my grand dogs. Even though I have 3 adult children, I have no grandchildren yet, but I've got 2 grand dogs and 2 grand cats. That's Shady, and that's my daughter in the middle. She's married and lives in Virginia. And the one next to my wife is Michael. He's 26, but still lives at home, works buying and selling on the stock market now. I brought Tim Jr. home from the hospital the night before I started my internship. And he was fine up until about 11 p.m. and then screamed from 11 p.m. until 6:30 a.m. So I appeared at my internship all bloodshot and sleep deprived. And the program director said, "So where were you on call last night?" And I said, "At home, I have a newborn." And he said, "Aren't you gonna have a fun year?" So I've got the experience of raising children as a resident and as a new doctor. Some of the things that I've learned over the years, I could talk forever, but I'll just share a few of the things that I think are key points. So when my oldest was little, you can see there's 9, almost 10 years between the oldest and the youngest. When the oldest was little, I was very invested in my practice. I was in private practice. I worked a lot of hours. I wanted the nice house for my kids because I came from a poorer family, and so I was really driven towards career success and wasn't around a whole lot for him. But by the time the second son came around, I was more relaxed with my professional situation and financial situation, and took more time to spend with the youngest one when he started doing sports and school activities and everything. And so the oldest one says, that he's jealous of the youngest one. And I say, well, I did what I thought was right for my family at the time, and I'm here now, so come spend time with me. And I've never heard anyone say, I wish I spent less time with my kids when they were young. But I have heard some of my peers say, boy, I wish I spent more time with my kids and less time with my practice. So keep that in mind as you go forward. Back in my day, we didn't have a lot of the internet access and stuff that you guys had. I was very happy to have my in-laws nearby and my parents nearby. So we had a good family resources to help with childcare. And one time my wife and son came to visit me at the residency for dinner because I was on call. And we all got food poisoning from the hospital cafeteria. And so we were so sick. If it wasn't for my mom coming over and taking care of the baby, I don't know what would have happened to the poor baby. So yeah, having a support network, family if they're available, but good friends or people that have been recommended to help out is very important. One of my panelists here said, date night. It'll be 40 years for my wife and I think that we've always made a habit of finding time for each other through the years is an important thing. So if you want your spouse and your wife to survive, your medical career, then you have to make your family and your spouse a priority. So I'd encourage all of you to develop habits to do that. So I'll leave it at that for now, but I'll be happy to answer any questions later.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us. We appreciate that. So now we kind of come to the point and we have some more tips and things that some of our lovely panelists have left for us. So what we can read through these quickly, and then really I want to get to any questions from the floor to kind of start us off. But again, Dr. Dever left these great tips. So residents are now able to use employee assistance programs as well as take focus electives to allow some more flexibility with young kids at home, which is awesome. And then more residents can take paternity leave, like we heard from Dr. Sullivan, as well as maternity leave, which is great. We'll just read through these tips quickly. Oh, look at that baby though. Okay, back to Dr. So preparation is key. We kind of talked about meal prep, laying out. Do you want me to read through these, Jenny, or do you want the panelists to? Okay, I'll guess I'll read
It'd
through
be
them.
great if Dr. Akhtar is available, she can keep on going.
Oh,
These are her
cool.
words of wisdom. So let's see if
Awesome.
if Suhair will allow it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. My daughter loves to talk and she is definitely been chatting up a storm and you can hear her in the background. So if
Good.
she's too loud, I may have you take over, Becca.
Yeah, I'm available. Yeah.
But as you were saying, I really find the preparation is key. One thing I've learned is that you can plan out everything that you want and your child will basically is a boss and will take over kind of whatever plans that you thought you had down pat. So, but whatever you can do, meal prepping has been really, really key for me coming back from work. And then my nanny leaves and I have to make sure dinner's on the table, get her ready for bed, go through her little bedtime routine that we've tried to create. And the only way I can do that is if I have meals frozen that I thaw in the morning, or I get all of my meal prep done the night before. I also, try to lay out my clothes with scrubs. It's gotten a lot easier, and, having like my lunch and things like that packed up and ready to go. I'm also on a lot of administrative stuff. So I have to really plan out in the morning since there's a lot of pre-work and post-work meetings to try to organize and plan out as well. So just making sure that I know that I can have a nanny there, or my husband and I kind of tag team to make sure we can get on our co-meetings. Having a support system. So I have family nearby, but they don't live as close. So like on a weekend I can grab them, but they can't be here on like weeknights or things like that if I need them. But just having a good support system and being really open with your spouse, especially those first few weeks, I think is really important, in communicating effectively what you need. I put this down because I think this is very important, and something I'm learning to do is delegating tasks that you don't need to do yourself. So dividing and conquering with your significant other. when it comes to like getting dinner, tonight it's his turn, things like that, so that you can get work done, and also tasks that you don't want to do. If you have the ability, if you have the finances, if you're able to use resources and you're like, I don't like cooking, getting, like a meal kit that gets delivered to your house, doing services like that, or getting somebody to help you clean your home once a month. Those kind of things can be very helpful as well, so you don't feel completely stressed. Because in those early weeks, I definitely had dishes in the sink piled up, something I generally like not to do. And then don't try to be perfect. I think we get caught up a lot of times, especially as moms, of trying to be really like do everything, be really great at work with our patients, and be really perfect at home as a wife and as a mother. There is no such thing as perfect. So you just kind of, I think, redefining those expectations, having grace, and being easy on yourself if things don't go exactly as you had planned or anticipated is really important. And then if possible, and the reason I put this up is because the day I was supposed to go back to work, like the night before I was supposed to go back to work, I called to confirm with my nanny, and we had everything planned out. We had done like a working interview, and she had told me basically, even though we had agreed on everything, that she couldn't come work with me the next day unless I paid her more, which was a little bit shocking. And so my work was fantastic. I took a little bit extra time off so I could use that time to try and figure out if I was going to put my child in a daycare or find another nanny. And I got lucky because I reached out to my network that I found somebody that really likes and cares for my child. So that was also really helpful. I put a lot of tips and tricks on here, so I just want anybody and everybody to jump in if they want to expand on any of these thoughts, or if they have their own thoughts. My next slide, just, I actually asked, I have more than 50 little kids in my family. I have a huge extended family in Chicago. And so I think we're, between my mom and dad's side and my first cousins, there's like 70 something little kids, most of them under the age of 10. And I had a cousin who had a baby 4 hours before mine, the day my baby was born, which is, she has like a built-in buddy now for life. But one of the things that they had said, it's really important to start thinking about estate planning, because you just never know when emergencies and accidents and things like that could happen. So while this isn't the happiest thing to talk about, it is important to start thinking about those things, especially when you have a child in the picture, just so that you are prepared for any of those what ifs that can happen. Even though we're physicians, I just put this on there. Like, I and my mom and sister are both pediatricians, so they're great resources. But I got a local pediatrician who's awesome, and just getting your child their own doctor, because I think when we want to kind of micromanage and maybe we overthink things sometimes as parents, so it's great to have somebody to ask for help. And I asked my pediatrician to talk to me like I'm one, like just another patient as opposed to a physician, just so I can make sure I'm not missing anything. And some days are going to be messy, and that's okay. And I put that because the last couple of meetings that I've been on, my husband has had to rush to work or get called in for a case, and we've just had to kind of roll with it. And, we're changing diapers while we're talking on panels, and you gotta make it go. Trusting your instincts, I think, is also important. And I also put in making time for yourself daily if possible. So my husband and I initially tried to do workouts together, and we realized with our baby that was not going to happen. So we usually, if I want to get a workout in or something for myself, he takes over for that hour, and vice versa. I take the baby when he needs to go get a workout done. My sister has 3 children that are older than mine. And one of the things she had mentioned is kids have different needs at different stages. So when they're younger, I don't think they'll know as much if you're working a couple of days a week, or you have help, daycare, nanny. As long as you're there at night and you're there for them in terms of the quality of time you're spending, I think sometimes that's greater than the quantity of time. My sister's kids are running around to a million different activities, and I feel like they want her and need her a little bit more in that situation. And So this was something that some of my cousins and friends that have older children said, when they're younger, working a little bit harder is easier because they'll need you to be more flexible when they're older in school, running around for activities. And then the last couple of things, creating routines and schedules, especially for younger kids. We have a bedtime routine now, and we've been pretty consistent with it, and that's been really helpful. I already mentioned this. Kids are on their own schedule, and they're the bosses here. So you have to just roll with the punches like I'm doing now. Like I said, my baby likes to talk, and quality time over quantity time is really, I think, the most important thing here, to not have, it's really easy to get caught up in mom guilt or dad guilt for not being there all the time. And I think it's important to have some grace with yourself and just really enjoy the moment. Because I can't believe my baby's 4 months. It just flew by like in a second. And I just wanted to see if anyone else had anything to add to all of that stuff that I mentioned.
I have a couple of comments if I can.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Okay. So the first is I agree that, no parent is perfect. No person is perfect. Don't try to be perfect. You're going to make mistakes. You got to accept those mistakes and deal with it. And a lot of the panelists have recommended a lot of reading and stuff. I don't recommend reading too much. I think you need to develop your own parenting style and your own relationship style. And, you'll learn as you go, and you learn things from your mistakes, like you do in all of life. So don't overread. Don't try to be somebody else's idea of the perfect parent. You're going to be just a fine parent. And the quality time versus quantity time, I 100% agree when the kids are very young that's true. But once they start hitting adolescent age, like Sim's kids, they don't want you just on the big vacation weekend. They want to know that you're around, that you're participating in their activities and stuff. So quantity of time does become an issue at some point in time. So quality over quantity doesn't always work. And I 100% agree. Don't be your child's doctor, but I have to say, choose a family doctor, not a pediatrician. We're all supposed to be family doctors here. Find yourself a good family doctor to take care of your kids.
Thanks, Dr. Ott. That was very helpful. Oh, I'm just getting words of wisdom right here, right now. Okay. Dr. Carpenter, do you want to share some of the tips that you wrote down too?
Yeah. So, the big thing for me, for dads especially, when you've got a newborn, it can be kind of tough because there's a lot of kind of baby mom time. And so find something to help you get engaged early. I know that for me, it was setting everything up. Even when we were in the hospital, we were starting to pump, setting everything up and making sure everything was clean and ready to go for the next time. It allowed Allison to get a little bit more sleep. It allowed her not to have to worry about one thing. And it gave me something where I could actively participate, which was huge. It doesn't necessarily have to be this thing, but talk with your partner and figure out what you can do. Allison still talks about how helpful it was, and I know for me it was extremely rewarding. And for moms, it's tough for me to give this advice other than I got to watch Allison go through it and to talk with her about it. I think at some point everyone's going to wonder what their role is going to be going forward, trying to find that balance between parenting and their occupation. Just remember, keep talking with people, talk with your boss about it, talk with the people that you work with, because you're going to be afraid to talk about it, but I think you're going to find that they'll be more open than what you expect. And even Allison's boss, their relationship actually improved when she started struggling with some of this and talked to him about it. You know, he wasn't a mother, he was a father, but it allowed them to connect. And they were able to problem solve together to kind of figure out some of the problems that she was having. And it's made her work more rewarding. So, you know, don't be afraid to talk with your partner. You know, feel it out as to what your own balance needs to be, which is going to be different than other people, but don't be afraid to talk at work either, because I think it'll be more welcome than what you expect.
Wow, that was all really great advice. I feel that from all levels. Yeah, and I just to echo that, I think when I went back to work, which was April of 2020, when things were like hitting the fan, when it came to going back to being attending in the ICU as well as the hospital, I just trying to brainstorm with other people who had been through it, like how I was going to pump, where I was going to pump, how I was going to keep my pumping stuff clean and not bring it home. And again, there's a lot of unknowns with COVID then, but that was definitely a struggle. And then getting help from my group to try to decrease the burden of the inpatient work right there at the beginning. So it's very hard to ask for help. And I think, again, for me, I was coming kind of right out of residency where I found out I was pregnant. I was like, I'm only going to take 6 weeks off. I'm dedicated to being a doctor. Like, this is what I went to school for. Oh, look who's there. Look who's there. Hi, Knox. But then I was so grateful that I didn't do that. And I only could take 3 months off, but that I took it off. And I was able to be at home a little bit longer. Okay, great. All right. Do we have any other questions? I know that we've kind of shared a lot of good information. Is there anyone on the floor who wants to raise their hand or just unmute yourself and ask a question? Or if you're not comfortable talking, you can feel free to enter in the chat, and I'm also happy to read it to our panelists. We've got a few, we got some time here at the end and some really great advice that's been given out. Or if any of the panelists have other questions for other panelists, I don't know, maybe it's just me. But I've definitely been appreciating everyone. So yes, I will be quiet for a second and let anyone else talk. And if not, maybe ask a few questions myself.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
So my name's Andrew. I'm a third-year family medicine resident and getting a job, starting in August this year. And then residency will wrap up at the end of June. We're moving out of state for my job. So I was wondering, the baby would be we're due on April 20th. So the baby would be a few months old. And, it says the baby shouldn't be in a car seat more than a few hours at a time. I was wondering, what about transferring the baby to out of state? If you had any suggestions or.
Oh, you're just packing all those big life changes at the end there. Good for you. Congratulations. That's super, super exciting. I'm definitely not the expert. Does anyone have any experts on long travel? I actually didn't know that. That makes me a really good doctor. That's cool. But does anyone have any questions or any answers for that one? Oh dear, we're all gonna learn with you here.
I mean, Andrew, so I don't have personal experience doing out of state travel with our baby, mainly because of COVID, because we were super excited to travel with our baby, and usually we would be driving long distances. We've looked up similar, like, oh my God, how much time we're supposed to keep our baby in a car seat. And I think you just have to plan for breaks, and just, if your baby's fussy, it's okay to take a break. It's gonna probably take twice as long as you normally would if it was just you and your wife, and that's okay, but you can do it. And honestly, I know you're not flying, but I've been told a lot of my co-residents and residency saying, like, around the 4 to 6 month mark is such a fun time to travel with kids and babies. Like, on a flight, you just hold them and they're just cute and they don't squirm too much, and it's actually a good age to travel. Car seat will probably be a little bit different, but my baby he loves the car seat and he just passes out, and honestly he gets his best naps in a car seat, so it actually sometimes makes us feel better that like, oh, finally he slept more than 30 minutes for this nap. So
I'll ask you guys a question. Speaking of the car, how many of you parents have had to use driving around in the car because the baby won't fall asleep? That was like a standby of our early colicky phases.
Yeah, totally. That's where I was like, oh no, there's a limit to that. 'Cause that's where we napped a lot.
Yeah, I will say, kind of in our experience, the easiest time to travel with the kids was just before they were mobile. So obviously the easiest way to, this is great advice we got once, that the easiest time to carry the baby for moms at least is before the baby's born, because otherwise it's just so much more difficult when you got a squirming baby. But and I can say that as the dad, right? But for the kids, once they're able to crawl or want to get up and walk around, my God, that's so much more difficult. And then I also thought, falsely so, I really thought that once they were potty trained, it'd be a lot easier to travel. Oh God, no. You start missing those diaper days, which sounds ridiculous, but having to take a kid because they only have to go to the bathroom when you get on the plane. It's not before, and it's definitely not at home. So if you have to do any travel international, I think we'd done a trip to like London or something like that when my son was still in diapers before he was potty trained. And that was, in retrospect, a lot better than if we had to try to get him to these international bathrooms and stuff.
So you're moving at the perfect time, Andrew. No, I guess I take that back. When Blake was 1 and that was like December, we drove to Florida, which is like 19 hours from here. And we didn't want to stop because it was the pandemic. It actually worked out okay because like he would feed at that point like every 3 hours. And by that time we were stopping for gas or like to go to the bathroom or like doing something like that. And so yeah, he cried, but they'll cry and they'll be fine. And I did sit in the back. We did carve out like a little seat in the back so that I could sit next to him in the car seat as well as like in the front seat. So to be honest, when he took a nap, I'd move to the front seat so I didn't distract him. And then if he was like awake, I sat in the back with him. So I don't know, that you're moving though. I don't know if you're gonna have enough of a back seat space to sit, but that's where I tried to narrow myself into.
The easiest cross-state trip that we took was when my wife was 42 weeks pregnant. But yeah, I agree with don't put yourself on any sort of travel schedule. Plan on making lots of stops and taking times, no matter what age the kid is. As little infants, you got to get them out of the car seat and change their diaper and feed them. Once they're starting to move around, you got to get them out and let them stretch their legs and burn off some energy or they'll drive you crazy. So no matter what the age, when you're traveling with kids, always make lots of stops.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. All right, any other questions? And I'll quiet myself for a second. We have a few more minutes before Ginny's going to take us away with our wrap up stuff. So any last minute questions? And again, at the end, we're also going to try to put together an email in a way that we as a family medicine family can help support each other. So we'll be looking out for that too. But
I'm glad you brought that up. That gives one last little poll question, and our panelists should also chime in on this one as far as future ways that we could facilitate some additional communication, words of wisdom, resource sharing. So we kind of put together a little list, and I think you can choose as many options as you'd like. I don't think you have to pick just one, but the group was talking about how we could facilitate connectivity beyond this evening or those who listen to the recording. So if everyone can just kind of chime in, we'll save that, and that will give me as a staff person and our board some direction on some ways to make this concept stick for not only our current people, but the future parents that are in our membership and the new parents and the someday will be parents. So it looks like just about everyone has logged in there. I'll let you guys see what you chose. It looks like the E-list is a winner, and we can do a re-airing or another webinar on this one, maybe over the summer or in the fall when people aren't as zoomed and webinared out. So it's good to know that there's interest in this topic. It's certainly universal. I'm going to close this out. And then with just the last couple of minutes we have remaining, I wanted to share what is on the horizon for the Academy. So just a couple of fun things. Let's see if I can still do all this good stuff. Back to the slideshow. We did this one. Okay, so upcoming events. Some are in person, some are virtual. We have a new adolescent and child psychiatry series coming up for the primary care physician. And boy, you guys are all living this dream right now. I have the adolescents and a lot of you have the childs and the babies. But that series is starting up later on this month. We have a resolutions workshop, and that's where Academy members can bring forth some resolutions that they would like the Academy to think about or possibly bring to AAFP. I know Dr. Eric Sullivan is an expert on resolutions here in our state. In fact, he authored a resolution for the Congress of Delegates that actually is adopted. So we have some great experience, and Dr. Jaffer, who is on our panel here, is one of our 2 delegates. So he is also a resolutions expert and will probably be hosting that May 11th webinar. So put that on your calendar, Dr. Jaffer. If you want to see people in real life, you can come to UIC in May. We are returning the Essential Evidence Update Conference. It's called Up to Date CME. It is rapid fire. It is all the current stuff. 2 of our board members are amongst the presenters, Dr. Kate Rowland and Dr. Santina Wheat, who I think many of you may already know. So this will be great. We will actually see humans again. And if Major League Baseball will get their act together and come to some labor peace, we have on the calendar our White Sox game for August 12th, which is a lot of fun. That was the actually only live IFP event we had last year because it was the only thing that we could do with pandemic rules. So we're looking forward to that. This is something that's been added. It's not CME, but actually we have a med student at Rush who is really taken trauma-informed healthcare as a passion, and she's been doing a lot of research and presentations and sharing her own story. So even though she's a student, we are going to open this one up to everyone. It's wonderful information. Tuesday, April 5th. Registration is right off our website. And also Stephanie's own website, MedPsych Moss, is actually a really tremendous resource that she just launched recently. And we love sharing the amazing things that our members are doing, including our student members. Talking about going out, we are bringing back Docs Night Out, which is a part education, mostly social opportunity for our members to get together in person. So we have 2 next month. These will be the first ones we've had since 2019. So we're really looking forward to that. Sorry, it's not a date night, it's for members. So tell your significant others to give you one pass and then you will owe him or her one, okay? You gotta be fair. Pinstripes in Oak Brook will be bowling with some education on management of your patients with CKD at the risk of progression of type 2 diabetes. It's a long title, but it's free for members, and then you get to go bowling and you will have bragging rights. The second one is in Peoria. I know we have at least Dr. Jaffer and maybe some other Central Illinois people. We're gonna do axe throwing, which is gonna be super fun. And that's Wednesday. You know, April 26th may be a Tuesday. We'll double check that. But both of these are free. Registration's open right off the website. And we are actually looking at doing one in late May in Bloomington that's about to be finalized. So these are the things that we're gonna try to do throughout the year. Just small group opportunities that are part social with some sort of education, non-CME usually, and they are sponsored by someone. So we wanna make sure we're clear about that. And we're super excited about our new career center that just launched this week. So those of you may already be set with your current job, your next job, or thinking about what that next job may be. This career center just launched this week. It's fantastic, free for job seekers. You can customize things. You can put all the right filters on and even find resources and have someone review your resume. So This is all really great. You'll find it all over our homepage. It's not hard to find right now, but we're very excited about that. And then Dr. Ott, I think you brought this to my attention about the Physicians Foundation Fellowship Program, but that has a deadline coming up later this month. I don't know if you wanted to say anything about it or just kind of leave the slides as they are.
No, I think the slides speak for themselves.
Okay, so and that the website is on here, and these slides will all be going out to everyone tomorrow in case you're interested in this. But if you are early career and have interest in policy, this is coming up, and the nitty-gritty details are about it's a year long and it has a stipend involved, what the requirements are, what you have to do to apply, and then a link. So like I said, all these will be sent to you tomorrow if that's something that might be on your plate. Now that is all the things I had to run through. Keep in mind, anyone that you talk to tonight, if you'd like to follow up with them, send an email to our general email inbox. We will definitely follow it, forward it on to the appropriate person, people, and I will follow up with recordings, slides, and we'll look at some of those future communications forums for this group and those who are like you. I'm going to stop sharing there and see if there's any final questions, thoughts. There's a couple things that were popped in the chat since I was chit-chatting. So there's definitely some good words of wisdom from Dr. Akhtar. Yes, absolutely. So I will stop there and turn it back over to Dr. Madrell.
No, thank you so much, Shanice. I appreciate you again putting this together for everyone, and thank you to our lovely panelists who I can definitely say I learned from tonight. So I appreciate all of you sharing your wisdom with me and with us and with everyone there. So yes, thanks again. And unless anyone has any final questions, I think we'll sign off. But thank you, thank you, thank you.
Night,